podcasts do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions of WBGR Network. Any questions or concerns about what is said should be directed to the show host, whose information will be provided upon request.
Sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist, that cinnamon twist, that cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist, that cinnamon twist, that cinnamon twist.
Hey, it is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter, but everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it is like you are hanging with your girl. And before we get started, what I need you to do is just hit share and hit invite. And if you know how to start a watch party too, guys, because I'm very excited. You know, it's that time. It's election time. It's coming up. So it's time for everyone to start learning about the candidates that they have available in their area. And coming on this platform is so much better than you being out on the street and just seeing them wave at you. So today, guys, we're going to open up because I'm excited to have over here returning to us Miss Makeba Gibbs.
Thank you very much.
And everyone, she is running for the as the candidate for the judge of the circuit court for Charles County. Okay, sometimes I'll be like the circuit court judge. That's wrong. Judge of the circuit court for Charles County. Okay, we want to say that right. So share and invite. If you know somebody in Charles County, get them on here. If you're in Charles County, put it in all the groups and all that stuff, because you have to understand who's running and why they're running. Now, know that your girl Tasha, I'm not endorsing anyone, but I'm making sure that the community has an opportunity to be educated about why someone should get your vote. Or why not? You make the decision. All right, lady. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me. It is just an honor to be here again.
I know.
You know, it's been 18 months since the last primary.
It ran by so quick. So quick.
Time just flies by.
Some people might say it didn't go quick enough, but it ran by pretty quick for you to come back into the studio. What I want to do is I want to present Makeba Gibbs today in 3 areas, okay? I want to present you as the person Makeba Gibbs, the professional Makeba Gibbs, and then the candidate Makeba Gibbs. Is that okay with you?
I'm okay with that.
All right. So if we're going to look at you as a person, what I want you to do is to share with the audience about you as a family member growing up as a child, and now that you're an adult, what you have going on. Just talk to people and tell them who you are as a person.
Well, that's a wonderful question, and I love talking about my family because they're very near and dear to my heart. Anyone who knows me knows that about me. I am the second oldest of 5 siblings, and my mother was a stay-at-home, and my dad was, he was retired military from the Air Force. He retired after Vietnam, and then he started a family with my mom, and I'm the second oldest. Like I said, I'm the first and oldest girl. And when we were growing up, our parents were not so much strict, but they really focused on education. So we routinely were the kids that got the perfect attendance in school, and we were very high achievers. So as far as my upbringing goes, we were pretty traditional. We played outside, we played kickball, we played hopscotch.
What's that?
It was before the internet and before cable. I remember when cable first started, but we played outside and we rode our bikes through the neighborhood. We were taught to respect our elders. We were taught to do well in school, and family was very important. So we had cookouts in the backyard. just very close. My mother's one of 10 children, so I had so many cousins. If any of you are watching, hello. And I also want to say hi to my mom. Hello, Mother. So,
what's your mother's name?
Loretta.
Oh, I thought to say Missy Higgs saying she is an amazing daughter. I thought that was is that your mom's AKA on Facebook?
No.
She's like,
Missy is a close friend
she's
of
an
mine.
amazing daughter. I'm like, okay, is this her mom on here already? Thank you for tuning in, Missy. Thank you, Mookie Sweat, for sharing, and everybody else who's sharing and inviting.
Hi, Mookie.
We're appreciating you guys. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. So she's saying that because I am very close to my mom. She's having some health challenges. My mom's in her 70s, and I know people can relate to being in the sandwich generation where you're dealing with younger children, and then you're also dealing with aging parents. So, she's seeing how I navigate that. It's something that I take as a responsibility. I tell her, I said, it's not something that you expect, but it's something that I'm stepping up to deal with. So that's what she's saying, because she's seen it firsthand.
She says sandwich generation.
Sandwich
Did y'all hear
generation.
that? Okay, okay. And how old is your youngest?
My youngest, my child,
Uh-huh.
I have one, and he is 18 months.
Oh, 18 months. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I think I missed all of that on the internet.
I don't know. You got to scroll down. You
Oh
got to
my
scroll down to see
goodness.
that.
She done
I
went through
show
a
you
whole
picture.
She
if
done
we
went
weren't
through a whole
online.
9 months. See, we could have had a baby picture up on the screen. Okay, all right. So that's Makeba, the person.
Yes.
So now tell me about the professional and the career that you're in. What path did you take to get where you are?
Well, I tell people that I wasn't one of those people that told people I wanted to be a lawyer from the time they were 7. And I know some people were like that. It was their lifelong dream. I wasn't really exposed to lawyers and judges when I grew up. So this is something later on in life that I realized that I wanted to do. And I got very excited about it because I'm a people person. I'm an advocate for people. Like I said about my mom, it comes very naturally to me to advocate for people, especially people who can't advocate for themselves. So I just, my brother was in law school at the time, and we got to talking about, what you do in law school and what career paths are available to you. And I realized it was a very versatile degree, which fit with me very well, too, because I have a lot of interest. And I just went to law school.
So it's your brother. Okay.
Yes, my brother is. And you will find a lot of attorneys, there's someone else in the family, sometimes a parent that is an attorney.
Okay.
They keep it in the
so
family.
where did you study at?
I studied at Widener School of Law. There's 2 campuses. There's a Wilmington, Delaware campus and another campus in Pennsylvania. And I was at the Wilmington, Delaware campus. And it's now called Delaware School of Law. So it was Widener when I went.
Okay. And once you got into your studies, was there ever a moment that you was like, oh boy, what did I do here? What did he get me into?
Absolutely not. It was the opposite. I love to read. I love the challenge. I found it very intellectually stimulating. I know that sounds like a nerdy thing to say, but the different nuances of the law were very exciting to me. And there was so much to learn. It could be overwhelming if you were the, type to get overwhelmed, but I just found it to be a challenge. And I will say that because my brother's was in law school. I started law school when he left law school. He was a resource for me. So,
those of you who are turning in the first time and you didn't hear my opening, I'm your girl Tasha, because it's like hanging with your girl. It is hot in here. Is it just me?
it's a little warm.
I'm sorry. It's
warm.
very hot. Okay, so you never regretted it. You were very excited to be a lawyer. It's the right path for you. Thank you, Mr. Brother, for doing this and everything. Love, what did we say? Monique Robinson Poole said, love makes. She is amazing. Run, Makeba, run.
Thank you.
Run, Makeba, run. Okay, we are still sharing and inviting. It's hot in here. We are still sharing and inviting. And also in a few, we'll be taking some phone calls, but we're going to get through a few questions there. So there we got you as a professional, right?
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
I guess to get you as Makeba, the candidate, some people don't understand what in the world does a circuit court judge do, and why should I care about voting for not just a circuit court judge, but a lot of people don't feel it's necessary to vote for anything that's local. They don't see the purpose in it. So if you can address what is the responsibilities of a circuit court judge, and why should people even care about casting a vote to nominate or put someone in a position?
Well, I will tell you this. I was a public defender. That was my first job, and I say standing up in the courtroom as an attorney. Before that, I was a law clerk in D.C. Superior Court. But as a public defender, I realized that people's first experiences with the court system were sometimes after they were charged or after a loved one was charged and they had to come to court, and it was just completely overwhelming for them. So if nothing else comes from this conversation, you decide on your day off, I'm going to go down to the courthouse, the local courthouse, which is open to the public. All of the proceedings, except for a few like adoptions and very personal and private matters, are open to the public. So you should go down there, just kind of go to a couple of courtrooms, ask the bailiffs, I just want to watch and see what's going on because Makeba Gibbs was on Your Girl Tasha and says I should check this out. Please do. So the circuit court judges hear serious felonies. Every circuit in Maryland and Baltimore City, every county in Maryland and Baltimore City has a circuit court and a district court. The district court is the introductory court. That's where most cases are filed through, and then they may advance to the circuit court. The circuit court hears serious felonies. The judges there preside over jury trials. In the district court, there's only the judge there, so any trial that you have in the district court is only in front of the judge. But in the circuit court, you will have a right in some instances to have a jury trial, and that's for both civil and criminal cases. They also deal with issues of family law, where you have divorces and custody issues. They will also deal with any land disputes, any adoptions, any kind of guardianship cases that you may have. So it's very important issues that are being decided by circuit court judges. And I will mention this because a lot of people do not know this. It is a 15-year position. It's a 15-year term. And I tell people, imagine if the presidency was a 15-year term. I'm sure you would want to know who your president was going to be for 15 years. So it's very important to know that it is a 15-year term.
Okay, so you talked about a wide range of responsibilities that fall under the circuit court. Now we have to go back to, we know where you went to get your degree and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But with regards to your pertinent legal experience, I know that during the last election, I had a couple of the people running for state's attorney that mm-hmm. was online, and a lot of people felt that, well, what you've done as an attorney has nothing to do with the position. So I would think that some of the people may feel the same way, that when it comes to whatever you've been doing as an attorney may not have anything to do with the position that you're running from. So help me understand, what experience as an attorney do you have that's going to be able to benefit you in the position as a circuit court judge of the circuit court?
As I mentioned a few times, I was a public defender for 9 years, and I tell people 9 years with the public defender's office is like 20 years in most other offices. You deal with a lot of cases, you deal with a lot of people, not just your client, but the state's attorney's office. Also, you're dealing with the family members and very, very serious cases in a lot of times. And so I do have that experience. I think it's important that you can think on your feet, that you are not uncomfortable with some of the serious subject matters that come through the court. Some of the cases are cases that I think people turn off when it comes on the news, but a circuit court judge has to hear sometimes very disturbing facts and make decisions based on those facts. And also, I've been in private practice for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Since 2014, when I left the public defender's office, I have my own practice. I was sharing a practice with an attorney that passed away last it's been a year since Christmas.
Oh, wow.
That he passed away. Yeah, he'd been, this is Bill Ticer, he'd been in practice for 40 years, so I learned a lot from him. Mm-hmm. But when he passed away, I had to take the office over, and I moved over a suite, and just setting that up, learning more of the business end of practice, I think is going to serve me well, because judges not only have to deal with the cases that are in front of them, but they also have to manage their time. They'll manage the secretary that is working for them and a law clerk. So
okay, so are you in a position where you're over the firm that you're at?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Okay. It's a small practice, so I have a paralegal, and then there are other people who are in office, and I manage the office.
Okay. So for those who may not know, that's tuning in for the first time, of course, we talked about the fact that you were here before.
Yes.
And you were here before running for the same position.
Yes.
But for some reason, we didn't make it.
Right.
So I want to know from you, what do you think contributed to the reason why people didn't cast a vote to put you into this position back in 2018?
That's a very good question. And, you know, the day after the primary, when I woke up, I was like, did that really happen? Because I came within 315 votes.
Okay.
The very first post that I put on Facebook when I announced that I was running for judge, it stated every vote counts. So for me, because I came so close, I'm not taking any vote for granted this time. The last time I appeared on your show, I was so nervous. I was like, I'm not sharing this. If you look on my Facebook page and you scroll down, I don't really go live. I like getting on my friend, one of my good friends, Leanne Rodriguez. She gets on and she goes live all the time, and I like to watch. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But this time, I'm like, you know what? Tasha's going to ask me really hard questions. I know that. I'm not afraid to answer hard questions. I'm not afraid of really anything. So this time I'm just going to push a little bit harder and not be so shy about telling people why I want to do this. And it's just really important that people get involved in the political process, not be afraid. And if I could continue, after the primary and I fell short and I made that announcement on Facebook that, just thanking people for volunteering with me, people were shaking my hand, telling me that they were so proud of me for even getting in the race, that it just kind of made me want to do it again.
Well,
and
that kind of falls in line with Miss Latasha Renee Ward. She just said, thanks for giving people a choice instead of letting the governor pick for your county. Mm-hmm. Okay, so absolutely, that's kind of the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, the process, in some ways, is shrouded in secrecy. There's a judicial nominating commission. There are 13 members. That's something you can Google. You can find out who those people are. I made it through commission a couple of times. I met with Governor O'Malley. After I met with the commission and was recommended to the governor, I met with Governor Hogan. I have a lot of respect for both governors. But at the end of the day, the Maryland Constitution says that whether you are selected by the governor as an interim judge or you are retired after 15 years, you have to stand for election. Your name has to go on the ballot. So that's what's happening here. You will have a choice. And so you're vetted at first by the Judicial Nominating Commission, then you're vetted again by the people.
Okay, you got Regina Maddox Johnson Cottingham saying, hey ladies, how are you doing? Michelle Ford says, your son is a cutie pie. Guess she has seen your son. Andre Johnson is saying, have you done some pro bono work?
I have. So thank you for complimenting me on my baby. He is 18 months. Jackson is adopted, so that's why you missed the whole pregnancy.
Okay.
I'm a foster mom.
Okay.
And Jackson is my 7th foster child, and he was the first baby that I was able to adopt. And I was comfortable just adopting, just fostering.
That's big stuff. It got to take a big heart for somebody to take other children into their house. And you're saying it's the 7th one?
It's the 7th one.
And now you finally decided to adopt.
I did. And I tell people, I did not foster to adopt. I fostered to foster, and he became available for adoption. So some people were like, next time you'll get it. I'm like, no, I'm doing work right now with the babies.
Okay.
And
all right.
So I really like that. And so was it Mr. Johnson that asked me about pro bono work?
Mrs. Johnson.
Mrs. Johnson, thank you for that question. Yes, I have done pro bono work. I'll tell you, there's always an opportunity when you're in a courthouse, as much as I am, to do pro bono work that doesn't necessarily look like pro bono work, where you're helping people find their way through the courthouse. When I finish my criminal cases, I will do an expungement. If the person is found not guilty or they're eligible for expungement, that's pro bono. I don't charge for that. There is a legal clinic, although now another I think it's another entity is taking it over, so there's not an opportunity for local attorneys to sit on it. I mean, I have that right, but it was a volunteer service where you would sit for 4 hours and give free legal advice to whoever came to the courthouse. And sometimes there'd be 20 people out there waiting, and I'd have to just give them advice. And so yes, I have done pro bono work, and I do enjoy it very much.
Okay, those of you coming through on Makeba's watch party, I got you. I'm getting ready to get to you, but I want to go back to these 315 votes. Do you happen to know what was the total votes that were cast?
It was somewhere around 8,000, a little bit over 8,000.
And do you happen to know the potential of how many could have been cast?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like the total in the county, that how many how many votes were not cast?
So there's 150,000 residents plus, and it's growing because Charles County is one of the fastest growing counties in Maryland and actually in the country. So there are 150 plus thousand residents, and a very small percentage of them, and I don't want to guess and be wrong, but let's say it's 20%. It's not a lot that vote in the primary election. Now, the presidential election, the numbers are going to be a little bit different, and the gubernatorial election, the turnout is going to be a little bit different, a little bit less than a presidential, but I think somewhere around 15,000 people voted in the primary last time. But again, that was a gubernatorial or governor's race.
My whole point is we got to do better. I don't care how many it is. That's just not too many. We got to do better. You got to get out there and vote.
We do.
Period.
We do. And can I just add that you have to do your research and you have to ask. So there are organizations within Charles County, the local NAACP. They're working to get people registered to vote, and then they also know voter rights, about voter rights, and about people's attempt for voter suppression and misinformation that may be out there. So it's important that you link up with a agency, if you can, to get more people registered to vote and just be more educated about the process and the candidates.
Ms. Ford said you had her vote. She voted for you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Would she like to volunteer? We're looking for volunteers. So
she's looking for volunteers.
Please, you can inbox me on Facebook. And was that Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Ford, please inbox me because I really would like to get some more people out to the polls this year. A little funny business happens on the day of the election, the primary, which is April 28th. And we just want to make sure that there are enough people out there letting the voters know if they're giving misinformation and if, there's any funny business going on.
Okay. And you can volunteer to be an election judge, too.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And if you come to my precinct, and it's not no funny business, don't start no stuff, because my precinct be on check, okay? Be on check. We got a call that came in. I'm coming over to you, Mr. Muscleman and Mr. Terry. One moment, please. Hanging with your girl, Tasha. Who's calling, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Tasha. This is Cheryl Holloway.
Hello, Cheryl.
Hi. And I'm calling from La Plata. Now, the question that I have for Makeba is, I understand it's a nonpartisan position, so she will be on the Republican ballot as well as on the Democratic ballot. Is this correct?
That is correct. Because it's nonpartisan, the primary is set up for the Democrats to pick their candidates and the Republicans to pick their candidates. So in November, they can go head to head. And that's not saying that there aren't independents out there. But for the primary, it's Republicans and Democrats. For a judgeship, because they both have to choose, and we're nonpartisan, so I don't say what my political party is. Yes, all of the candidates, and there are 3 of them, will be on the Republican ticket and the Democratic ticket.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Holloway. Latasha Renee Ward, look, you about to mess up my contest. What you doing dropping dates for the... See, everybody just blame Latasha Renee Ward because she put in there the dates for voting. And I was going to say, on each page that I'm watching, the first person that drops the dates for early voting and the first people to drop the date for the actual primary election, your girl Tasha was going to give you guys a prize, but now that's all done because Miss Ward already did it. So anyway, let's go over here. Stephen Muscleman said, love you, Renee. Latasha. She's a Tasha too. People voices keep a check on the executives, and we need to have them. Now, Mr. Terry says, why is there so much opposition to candidates running for judges? I just find it hypocritical for those to oppose our Maryland Constitution.
That's a really good question. Someone approached me the last time I ran, and they're just like, oh, you've got, chutzpah or balls to do this, and, you're bucking the system by doing it. And I'm like, it's in the Maryland Constitution, like Mr. Terry said, and it's my right to, if I'm qualified to do that. But I think that, it's kind of a myth, and it's been a myth that's been perpetuated by people who want to keep that going. And it's something that they want to take away from the people. And why that is, I mean, I'm sure there are a host of reasons, but there have been judges to challenge the people that were appointed by the governor. In recent past, it was Tom Simpson. He was successful at doing so. And before that, it was Judge Clark. And these are people that did it 15 years ago. I think Judge Simpson, it was just 6 years ago. But because of that, and because I ran last time and I'm running this time, all 5 of the circuit court judges that will, be on the circuit court in Charles County will have had to go out in the community and meet with people. So some of the judges, I don't know them all personally, but I guarantee you they've never been to Nanjamoy. They've never been to Welcome, Maryland. They've never been over to the western side of Maryland in Indian Head. They have no idea what you mean when you say dog patch. They have no idea what it's like to be at Thomas Stone High School as opposed to North Point High School or Lackey High School, and what's really going on inside of those schools. I've been inside of the schools, and I've been out in the community. I've mentored. I love mentoring people. So if their parents contact me and say, hey, my daughter's interested in being a lawyer, I'm open my door to them, and I'll take them over to the courthouse and give them a tour. I've been on a mock trial team, a mock trial coach at North Point High School. So you can't have a judge that's just kind of lived in a bubble, and not all of them have. But I think it's very important that they get out, that they meet people, that they understand some of the issues that people are facing. And I think that makes them a better judge.
Tanya Wanda said Makeba is an incredible woman through and through. But Tanya's commenting back to a Missy saying that you could agree to something. I don't see Missy's comment, guys. Y'all got these comments rolling and rolling and rolling. The process, Latasha Ward said that the judges appointed by the governor help keep the jail and the prison system full. Missy Hicks says, can you tell us about your application for special courts?
Specialty courts, or they call them, they're specialty courts, but they're mental health courts, the mental health court, the drug court, and the veterans court. Charles County doesn't have any of those. Prince George's County has a drug court. St. Mary's County has a mental health court. And what that is it gives courts an alternative to prison. Gives them an alternative to sometimes a jail sentence. Sometimes that's appropriate. Some people say, if you're advocating for that, you're advocating for letting people off. That's not true. In some cases, it is appropriate for someone who has severe mental illness, where treatment is more appropriate that they get that. The same with drug court. There is a scourge on our society. The mental health, the drugs that are out on the street, the opiate epidemic that people are talking a lot about. And before that, it was the cocaine epidemic. I'm talking over my words. And the crack cocaine epidemic. And so the courts and the court systems and the courthouses, the jails are just overrun and not able to handle that, when if you set up these courts, there can be an alternative to that. And it does cost money, and I realize that, but they can be put in place, and there certainly needs to be more people advocating for that. Charles County does have a family recovery court that's run by a magistrate there, and so they do have something that does help. So if someone is on drugs and they have their child taken away, and to help reunify the family, that's very important. But I think there's also a need for veterans court, mental health court, and drug court.
Okay, so Stephen was on the same line, asking about the drug and specialty court. He wanted to know specifically, what is your vision and your goals that you're going to do differently than what's currently taking place?
Well, the mental health court is something that the state of Maryland has, that circuit court judges can apply to do and have there and manage. So it's something that would be in addition to cases that are heard on a docket. So I would have to still have my caseload and say that I want to be over a mental health court or a drug court or a veterans court. So it's not a matter of me doing anything different. They're already set up. but you can be creative in how, the people that you have in there. So it's like a team almost. It's almost like juvenile. If people have ever been to juvenile court, it's not just the judge and the lawyer and the state's attorney in the well. It's the principal that says, this is what I think should happen with this juvenile. So in drug court, it would be a counselor that says they've been meeting with me, they've been compliant with their, they've been testing negative, and they are making progress in their rehabilitation. So that's really how it works. So there's an opportunity for there to be some creativity, but first we have to have the program here.
Okay. Now, Mr. Terry wanted to follow up and say the process is the process, and all candidates are qualified in Charles County. Just has a very serious issue with shaming candidates from exercising their constitutional rights. And I would imagine that he feels that needs to be changed. Okay.
And if I could respond to that, I absolutely agree with that. It's just, I think it's changing though, because I have a lot of people who understand that system and understand what is happening when someone runs. And I said the best way that I can explain it is that when a governor appoints, that person has to be vetted by the people. That person has to be on the docket for the people. And so if you put this narrative out there that there aren't supposed to be any challenges, I think someone on Facebook said, when someone else comes out of the woodwork, as if, you're like some insect coming out of nowhere. That's not really fair. It is a system. And if that person is strong, and if they're a strong selection, and if they've been doing the work in the community and people know of their track record, they shouldn't have any problem. But this is a democratic process, and no one should be shamed, and no one should be discouraged from wanting to participate in it.
Now, you're talking about people coming out of the woodwork and things of that nature and what they're going out. One of the questions that was submitted that although you were not elected the last time, what contributions have you been making to the community since 2018?
I still do work. I was still doing work at the courthouse. Sure. I was still doing work at the courthouse representing people at the clinic. I also have been working diligently with with Delta Sigma Theta, which is my sorority, and I also adopted. So my son came to live with me when he was 12 weeks old, and I continued working. He was 12 weeks so he could go to daycare, but I spent a lot of time in the evenings with him because he was so young, so that we could forge a bond. So, but even though I did that, I still stayed active in the local bar, and I do volunteer my time. And again, most of it is people saying to me, Makeba, I want you to come speak at this organization about being a lawyer. Or I have teenagers that I want you to talk to and mentor. So I continue that mentorship.
Okay, Latasha Ward says, go Sorrel. Okay.
Thank you.
Continue to drop your questions. Guys. I'm going to take a break, and we're going to come back with you guys on the flip side.
I made a mistake. And before I realized that it was too late, I was swerving in and out between two lanes, but I didn't expect anybody's family to be in any true pain. I could have put the bottle down. I was in a daze, so I'm kicking it into full throttle now, but now somebody's mom is feeling trauma because their baby can't be coddled now, so she can't get her baby back. I didn't think I hit the bottle that hard. It was like baby taps, but now I got a murder attached to me. A few little sips turned everything around me into a travesty, so do everybody a favor and stay sober on the pavement to prevent another tragedy. Because the last thing we need is more casualties. So drive safe. Because it's not just your life. It's everybody's life that's at stake.
I'm Aisha Braveboy, State's Attorney for Prince George's County. One life is too many to be lost to unsafe driving. So join us in our campaign. Drive focused, sober, and safe.
Welcome back. I hope you guys paid good attention to that message from Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy regarding driving drunk. Okay, guys, we have to be in the community. We got to make sure we stop this. We got to stop it. We don't want to be having people losing their lives for reasons that shouldn't be happening. Okay. Anywho, I am like, did you see me drop my thing? Okay. Anyway, all right, here we go. You mentioned about being vetted. Mm-hmm. Now, you have I took a little screenshot. I'm going to let you explain it. You have something on your page where you mentioned on Facebook that you've already been vetted. So what exactly does that mean that you've already been vetted?
So when there's a vacancy on the court, whether it be a new position, because they have done that, or a judge retires, or leaves the position for whatever reason, or there is a retirement, just like any job, a job application goes out, and you submit that to an office in Annapolis, and at the time, and this is all public, if you Google Maryland Judiciary, if you Google Maryland judicial vacancies, that's where you will see a list of all the vacancies throughout the state. And Prince George's County normally has a lot because there are a lot more judges there. But what will happen is they'll say, this position is open for the retirement of. And then they'll say, this is when the application is due. It's a 13-page questionnaire. And then this is when the Judicial Nominating Commission will meet. And you will interview with 13 members of the community, 13 to 15 members. It's a very tough interview. But in between the time you pick up the application and get the application in and meet with the Judicial Nominating Commission, you also will meet with what's called specialty bars. So these specialty bars are statewide bar associations or local. So in the case of J. Franklin Bourne, which is a minority bar association, very well-known bar association, they have a committee that will meet with that applicant. And that committee meets with all different applicants throughout the state, mind you. The Asian American Bar Association, the Hispanic Bar Association, the Women's Bar Association, the Business Bar Association. I think I'm messing that name up, but it's the Civil Bar. And there's a women's bar, there's a black women's bar. There are about 13 different specialty bars that you meet with, and they will write a letter to the Judicial Nominating Commission and say, we are recommending this person or we're not recommending this person. And so what I was saying when I said I was vetted was that I did that process on a couple of occasions. And all of the people that I met with, and there may have been one Women's Bar Association that I could not meet with, and then I believe it was the Black Women's Bar Association where they had not recommended me at that time. But aside from that, there were about, I guess it would be 26 times that I met. Those letters went to the Judicial Nominating Commission, and they supported me by saying that they felt that I was qualified. So it doesn't get into a lot of particulars or why. It's just so that it's fair. It's just very much like qualified, not qualified. And they sent that to the Judicial Nominating Commission. Then that commission interviews. And let me just say this, because a lot of people don't know this either. I sat on the Judicial Nominating Commission, so I know that there's somebody on the commission that's in charge of talking to the circuit court judges. So they will go and they'll say, what do you think about Makeba Gibbs? They'll go to the district court judges and ask that. They may go to the state's attorney. They may go to local attorneys. And they're really just kind of asking around. It's like a background check. They're asking around what they think of this person. And I was nominated to the governor on 3 occasions. On 2 different occasions, I met with the governor. So I have been through that process, and that's what I mean by vetting. And that's what I also mean by getting correct information out there on the day of the election. If people are showing up saying, you got to go with these people because they've been vetted, because their pictures are on a campaign poster with judges' robes on, doesn't mean that I have not been vetted. So that's what I mean by vetted. Because, again, last time I was a little shy. I thought, oh, people are just going to look this stuff up. They're going to find out. But it's really important for people to understand, because I think people want to know. People want to know what the process is.
Well, I am looking at the control room being very great, and they have your you have an event coming up this weekend. So since it's on the screen, you might as well talk about it for a little bit.
on March the 1st at Prime Street Grill. It's a wonderful restaurant. It sits right in the middle of La Plata and Waldorf. It's in White Plains, and it's become very popular. It's a seafood and steak restaurant.
Those of you who were on my page the other night, that's where I was when I dropped that picture of that plate. But go ahead.
There you go. So I am hosting a meet and greet there. And again, this is an opportunity for you to come there and ask me questions if you have more, once the show is over. You're just like, I really want to ask her this question. You can. Or I really want to just know a little bit more about Makeba because an hour wasn't long enough. Please come see me. And I've also told people there's a number on my website. It's electmakebagibbs.com. And you can send me a note. You can send me an email if you like, or we can arrange and we can meet in person if that's what you would like to do. I just want people to really get out and really learn more about the candidates this time and vote for me.
So how important do you feel it is to know, and when we talk about knowing the candidates, specifically you running for your position, what should a person be looking for? If you're not in the race and you have to decide to vote for someone running for judge of the circuit court, what do you suggest that a person should be paying attention to?
Well, I would look at their background, obviously, look and see what types of cases they've done. So I've done divorce trials, not just divorce cases to settle. I've done divorce trials. I've done custody trials. I've done special education law. I've gone into the school board and I've advocated on behalf of my clients there. I've done, as I mentioned before, I was a public defender for 9 years, so I've done over 40 jury trials. So I've had to stand there next to someone who's had to either plead guilty or someone who is found guilty by a jury or someone who is found not guilty and is walked out the door. Very serious cases, from murder cases all the way down to DUIs or armed robberies, all the way down to a shoplifting. So also with civil law, I've done not very many, but I've done some personal injury cases. I'm working on estate cases. I've done wills. So I have a well-rounded experience. So that's something you want to look at. And then I thought about this the other night. Scroll back. 2018, scroll back. 2016, scroll back. 2015, because Facebook done cut you off, right?
What?
And see if that person was working in the community before they, needed to get your vote.
Well, Miss Maddox about 15 minutes ago told me she had a question for you. She said,
Sure.
Are you on Facebook? And I told her, yes, she is. And I told her what your page was. So go ahead and scroll, Regina. Scroll, girl.
Scroll. And the elect Makeba Gibbs, obviously, that came up when I started running in 2018. But look on my personal page. If you're my friend, you should be able to do that. But if you scroll through, you'll see just some things that I've been doing in the community all along, because I think it's important to do that in the community.
Missy Hicks says, I also look if they are humble, are they experienced, are they fair? And she is actually all of those. Andre Johnson saying, vote for Makeba Gibbs. Dee Sorrell is saying, go Sorrel, so proud of you. And Francine Pierce just threw the hands up in the chat. Go ahead, Francine. She's throwing the hands up. Okay, so now tell me, what is it? What are your focuses today for 2020? We know we talked about some of the different courts. But besides getting into establishing the specialty court, the drug court, the mental health court, I don't think you touched base on the Veterans Court or not. Did you? I don't know. But what are your actual focus that you're going to focus on once you get into office?
That's what obviously I'm going to focus on being fair. I'm going to focus on moving the cases along. If you go, like I suggested, to go into the courtroom, you'll find that sometimes it's not the judge's fault, but sometimes it does take a long time for the cases to be called and for the cases to be moved along. So I'm someone who's going to get on the bench in a timely manner, and I'm going to move the cases along and call the cases in an order that is going to get people out of the courtroom as soon as possible, as soon as possible. But I also want to take the time on each case and give everyone what we would call their day in court. So I believe that when people leave the courthouse, they're going to feel like they got justice, and they're going to understand that they were before a judge that believes in fairness and justice.
Regina say, yes, child. Yes, honey. You're the best, Tasha. I will definitely be scrolling. Thank you, because Charles County needs fair change. Okay, she said Charles County needs fair change. So were those going to be your same focus as the last time, or have you added anything to it?
No, I haven't added anything to it. I just know that, again, this time I really need people to understand what it is that the court does, and I've explained that, what kind of cases they are, and why it's important to have a judge that's fair, like
so it's kind
Missy said.
It's kind of cut and dry, huh?
It's cut and dry because every case is going to be different. No two robbery cases are different. No two divorce cases are going to be different. So if you have the personality where you're going to be patient and listen to both sides and be very fair, then no, I can't sit up here and say, if this situation happens, this is what I'm going to do, because that wouldn't be fair, correct? Because I wouldn't know what the facts were. You can have cases that they seem very close, but they're really not. And you as a judge have to take each litigant in front of you on a case-by-case basis. You can't let your prejudices, you can't let your preconceived thoughts on a situation, how someone looks, how someone is dressed, someone's background, affect your fairness.
Okay, so when Ms. Holloway came in, she asked, were you going to be on both ballots? How many positions are open?
So that was confusing to some people, because up until the deadline to vote, the deadline to file as a candidate was January 24th, which was a Friday. Mm-hmm. That following Monday, the 27th, Judge Burgunya, who is the administrative judge, she is, some people call them chief judges for the county, she withdrew. If she would have stayed, it would be 2 positions. So without drawing it out and being confusing, because of that, and my understanding is that she's going to be retiring and not continuing for another 15-year term, there is only going to be 1 seat. So there are 3 candidates for 1 position.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, is how many candidates do we have too?
Yes.
Hanging with your girl Tasha, who's calling, and where are you calling from?
This is Derek Terry calling from Waldorf, Maryland.
Hello, Mr. Terry. What question do you have for candidate Gibbs?
I just want to know what is her opinion of elected officials endorsing judges, since it's supposed to be a nonpartisan position. Why or why not? Is she in favor of it? Why or why not?
I think that's a good question. And again, I keep coming back to doing your research. If you see someone endorsing another candidate, how do I put this? Ask yourself why. So if if that person runs an agency or runs an office where they have a lot of people behind them or under them, I think it's more appropriate for that body of people to collectively decide that they want to endorse them. For instance, the Fraternal Order of Police may do that. And then people could say for themselves, like, well, I will take what the Fraternal Order of Police endorsement because I understand what that means. Or some people may say, it doesn't matter to me whether or not they got that endorsement. But elected officials, to do that, it's almost like a piggyback. So I'm standing here on my own. I jokingly said, and I don't know that... I'm not going to say it, but I will say this: if you have to use the votes that another elected official got 2 years ago when they were running on their own platform or they were running unopposed, you want to use their following or clout to push you up. And that person may come back and say, well, no, I'm not doing that. I really do like that person. But in all actuality, that's what's really going on. And I think that happens because, I'll be honest, when I was a public defender, I wasn't afraid to go to trial. I wasn't afraid when I got a case that the person wanted to exercise their right to have a trial, which is their constitutional right. I didn't have a problem saying to the state's attorney, the assistant state's attorney who was handling the case, my client wants a trial. Because it's their right. And I just didn't back down from that. And I do find that people don't necessarily want to see that. They want you to get along, play along to get along, or whatever the phrase is. And it's just that position, that job, you're not really doing your job if that's what you're into.
Stay here, Mr. Terry. Missy Hicks says, see the humility, see the fairness in that answer. Thank you, Makeba. Is that fairness in the answer or something? Or I'd like to ask you, Mr. Terry, can you answer the question from your position, please?
Yeah, because I guess for me, I was thinking, like, when I think of a judge, I think of all judges or anybody in the legal system to be fair, impartial, rulers of the law, following the law. So if you're saying that one person is better than the other person, per se, because you're supposed to be fair, impartial, and follow the law. So if you are, in just my opinion, if you have someone who's endorsing a judge where it's nonpartisan, then what does that say to the other ones that are running? To my mind, everyone is qualified, because you're not going to put yourself in a position to where you can be disbarred or things of that nature. So for me, I just find it kind of odd that anyone would endorse a judge, whether you like them or not, only because the position in itself is supposed to be fair, impartial, and you're supposed to follow the law. There is no hidden agenda. It's just whether or not you want to serve the 15 or whatever years.
All right, Mr. Terry, I'm going to cut you off there because your girl Tasha, Makeba's being fair. She could be fair. I said some ulterior motives going on over there, and you need to be very wary about just voting for people because of what people say, especially when it comes to people who are supposed to be impartial with the law. So thank you for calling in, Mr. Terry.
Thank you.
Okay.
You can't say it. I'm going to say it. Look, Missy. She was... Humility? No. I say it for you. That's some fraggle-naggle stuff going on right there, okay? Anywho. I got you. Never mind. Anywho. All right. Let's go to what I need to know from you. What unique qualities about yourself do you believe will make you an asset as a judge? Because it got to be something unique about you. It's 3 people running. It's only one position. What makes you stand out from the rest?
I do believe that it's the humility. Whenever I represented clients, I would say, there but for the grace of God go I. I cannot say I'm better than you because I have this education. People get robitis, if you've heard of that. That's when you get on a bench and you see yourself as up here and everybody else down there. So I think I'm very personable. I'm a people person. I definitely am creative and think outside of the box. I think I make everyone feel welcome as well, and that's just a skill that I have. And I'm very knowledgeable.
Okay. All right. Now, Missy says she is not. She'll tell it. I don't know, Missy. I don't know. I was seeing a little bit of sweat coming up over here. That's just your girl Tasha acting crazy.
Is she referring back to the
that you would go ahead and say what you want to say? I think it is an ulterior motive, and I'm not a Charles County resident. I'm a Prince George's County resident, but I am in the Charles County groups, and I have sat front seat to see how some of the foolishness goes on in Charles County, for lack of better words, and how people try to impose their thoughts and their thinking and act like people don't have their own individual brains. So it just goes on there. Okay, so I could name names too, but I ain't gonna go there today. Y'all don't want me to be that authentically me today. Anyhow,
I'm not afraid to be an independent thinker. I'm not afraid to stand on my own for what's right.
That's other uniquenesses.
Right. Yeah. You can't be afraid to speak the truth. And I may not, I'm going to keep it classy. I'm going to keep it professional. People know what's going on, and this is just going to make them want to ask, like, who are you talking about? They'll find out.
Okay, so we talked about you adopting. So you are a mom.
Yes.
You have a busy practice that you're spearheading, and now you're running for office. So how is it that you're going to keep it all together?
Well, I'm very organized. I will say this first and foremost, before I step out of bed in the morning, I pray.
Right.
I get centered. I meditate. I make a list of what I need to get done that day. And at the end of the day, I shut things off so that I can get rest. I know that's very important. I exercise. I eat right. I'm doing some things. Let me see what I say. I'm doing some like different things with my diet. So I'm experimenting. That's the word I was looking for. I'm experimenting with intermittent fasting and veganism. So I'm just doing a lot of things to kind of keep my energy level up. But you just have to be very organized. And you also have to know what your priorities are. My son has made me more focused. he's made me more determined. I haven't heard my voice crack once, and that's because I'm chasing him around and I know how important this is. It's important for me that I've taken the time to drive to Prince George's County, that it's going to take me longer to get home and to get him fed and a bath and put to bed. It's just made me be more focused, and it's just amazing how much more I'm getting done because of that.
Okay, all right. Now, what do you believe is going to be your biggest challenge in the position?
I think my biggest challenge is going to be just moving those cases along. As a private attorney, you have an opportunity to finish your case. You leave the courthouse, and the judge is calling the next case as you leave the courtroom. So they don't have an opportunity to really decompress and really kind of digest the whole day. There may be 20 cases on my docket. 3 of them are ones that, give me a lot of pause. I have to keep things moving along. And so that's going to be a challenge for me, but I'm up to it. I know I did that a lot in the public defender's office. I had to sometimes try 2 or 3 cases in one day. I had to prep more cases than that. So I think that's going to be a challenge. And then the judge is a little bit more isolated. So now when I go to the courthouse, I hi to the bailiffs, maybe chat with them. I go in, I'm talking to my client, then I'm talking to opposing counsel, and then I'm talking to, chambers. And when you're a judge, you're a little bit more isolated. So that may be a challenge for me because I'm a very social person, but there'll be other opportunities for me outside of the work, meaning the bar associations or other civic organizations to be involved in, which I will continue to do when I'm elected.
Okay, Kenny Bronner says, you helped me out one time and you were fair. If I could vote, I'd vote for you. I'm definitely going to help out with the people who can, though. Lyric Green says, very nice. Elect Makeba Gibbs. Andre Gibbs is saying, Makeba is very well-rounded, a leader, and very fair. We were raised not to follow the crowd. Is this the brother? We were talking about you earlier.
Hey,
you just getting here? Are you late? Are you late, Andre? Okay, let me finish this. He says, we were raised not to follow the crowd, but learn the facts and make our decisions. When elected, Makeba Gibbs will serve Charles County well. Someone else earlier said, yes, we need to say all rise to the judge, Makeba Gibbs. Now, Mr. Terry said, this is a great show, and I encourage all judge candidates to come on. While he speaks of that, each and every person, this is that time of the year that this is what this platform is for. I want you to come on. I want you to talk to people. Matter of fact, next week we'll have in Prince George's County the candidate for the circuit court, Miss Gladys Witherspoon, is going to be on next week. So y'all going to hear it from the flip side on the other side next week. Makeba, we talked about your event this weekend.
Yes.
Your girl Tasha will be there. I'm going to give me some hush puppies too while I'm there. And we got to put out here about early voting. Early voting, guys, is April 16th to April 23rd. Doors open at 10, close at 8. And then also you have the primary on April 28th. Doors open at 7, close at 8. I know that there's a lot of people that say that there's no reason to vote. Some of you act like you don't have time to vote. I don't know how many days that was just now that I just put there and how many hours.
8.
Okay, get out there and go and vote. Now, before we get into it, the last thing that I want you to do and say to people, you just got anything that you think we didn't touch about, you have like 3 minutes to put out there. Why should people vote for you?
First, your girl Tasha, Miss Carpenter, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. This is a very important show. As Mr. Terry said, it's important because you're educating voters. And I would continue to encourage you to do your work, do your due diligence when selecting a candidate. And I do believe that when you do that due diligence that you will select me. It's also important to tell your friends and your family, especially the more senior members because they can be influenced by someone coming by, a senior center, just dropping in and giving them information, and it may be possible for them to be told things that aren't necessarily true. So it's very important that you reach out to them and drive someone. Don't go to the polls by yourself. Take someone with you. Take a couple of people with you. If you have a larger car, say, we're gonna have a voting party and take multiple people there, because it's very important to get people out to vote. Every vote counts. And then I would also remind you of the dates that came up before. April 28th is that primary date. If you're interested in volunteering on my campaign, I need people at the polls. Please contact me. You can email me, you could call me, you can go on my website. If you think of a creative idea, you're just like, you know what, have you thought about doing this? I'd be happy to do that. If you want to have a private, reception at your home, I'd be happy to do that too. I just want to meet as many people as possible, and thank you again for having me. I don't know if that took all my time, but I do thank you.
Look, they know I'm used to going over a little bit sometimes. Larice Green said the people of Charles County had some questions for you regarding election, but you didn't drop the question, hon. As you heard, this she's having an event come out on
March the 1st.
March the 1st.
From 3 to 5.
And ask the question. Go to her website to contact her. Send her the little message that you have. And she even just said that she'll do private reception. So you'll have your chance to get the question in. Or drop the question on the screen. And she'll come in and she will respond to any questions that are there. If you tag her or tag me, we'll make sure that your questions are asked. So... all right, this is the second time. Second time should be a charm.
I think so.
We will see what's happening,
I think so.
okay?
I'm claiming it.
All right, okay. So y'all make the decision. Did she get your vote or not? All right, Ladybug. Thank you. We will see y'all next next Monday, every Monday, hanging with your girl Tasha, 5:30 p.m. Candidates, come on out. Some of you guys are hiding. Don't hide. Your girl Tasha is very fair and impartial. She is. But you say something crazy, I'm going to let you know too. Okay? Anywho, we'll see you next Monday, guys. And Andre Johnson says, remember, all votes count. And she put that thing in capital letters too. Bye, guys.
Twist. It's a sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. The cinnamon twist.